Let me read to you a passage from the 11th chapter of St. Luke's Gospel, verses 42 to 46. It's the Gospel for Wednesday of the 28th week in Ordinary Time, Year 2. It suggests things to us about truth and error in religion. Let me read to you the passage. The Lord said, "Woe to you Pharisees, you pay tithes of mint and of rue and of every garden herb, but you pay no attention to judgment and to love for God. These you should have done, without overlooking the others. Woe to you Pharisees, you love the seats of honor in synagogues and greetings in marketplaces. Woe to you! You are like unseen graves over which people unknowingly walk." Then one of the scholars of the law said to him in reply, "Teacher, by saying this you are insulting us too." And he said, "Woe also to you scholars of the law! You impose on people burdens hard to carry, but you yourselves do not lift one finger to touch them." That's from Luke chapter 11, verses 42 to 46. And what does it suggest to us? Well, we are so accustomed to diversity of opinion in the world that its implications for truth and error can easily escape us. We do not advert to the philosophical principle of contradiction and its implications for mankind. I refer to the obvious fact that something cannot be both true and false at the same time and under the same aspect. For instance, it cannot be the case that man can know God and in the same sense cannot know him. It cannot be the case that God exists and in the same sense does not exist. It cannot be the case that Christ is the divine and human Redeemer of man and the only way to the Father, and in the same sense is not this. Now, there are great numbers of people who firmly consider that the man Jesus is God and our Redeemer, while at the same time there are great numbers of people, Muslims, Hindus, atheists, etc., who deny he is this. Now, that is to be expected, but our Western tendency is not only to accept this diversity and polarity as an objective fact, but to set aside the question of the truth of the matter as being of secondary importance. We set to one side the question of who and what is right, and who and what is wrong in the controverted matter. More than this, our tendency can be to think that the truth of non-empirical matters is unattainable and basically irrelevant. Indeed, we can think that there is no objective truth to the matter in these basic issues, but that the only reality is what each person just happens to think. Truth is simply a factor of each person's opinion, and that opinion is the upshot of subjective forces, including choice. Now, all of this is generally quietly and unconsciously assumed, unless the person in question is thinking philosophically and deliberately espousing a philosophy of relativism, idealism, or whatever. The relativism which is so influential in Western thought and attitudes is a hidden assumption or starting point, and its fruit is to think that in non-empirical issues, which are the most fundamental issues of all, there is no error. The only error is whatever does not work or is not useful. Truth and error in religion, for instance, is a subjective phantom. Now, of course, in our gospel passage today, our Lord was not addressing the modern assumption as to truth and error in religion, but his words remind us of the fact of error in religion. They also remind us of the real possibility of error which is culpable and harmful. He condemns the Pharisees and the scribes. "Woe to you Pharisees," he says, "you pay tithes of mint and of rue and of every garden herb, but you pay no attention to judgment and to love for God. These you should have done without overlooking the others. Woe to you Pharisees, you love the seat of honor in synagogues and greetings in marketplaces. Woe to you, you are like unseen graves, over which people unknowingly walk." The Pharisees, that is to say, were in an almost hopeless state of error, a blindness which was at the same time culpable. Woe was coming upon them. So, error in religion is a powerful fact. The mere fact of widespread and profound diversity in religious opinion involving opposites manifests the fact of religious error to a greater or lesser extent on a large scale. The issue of what is the truth and who possesses it is a further question, but our Lord's words by implication for our day attack relativism in respect to truth and error. Attaining the truth and avoiding and renouncing error must be at the forefront of life. Let us take to heart this implication for modern culture. It means that we should strive to attain the truth. And if we are convinced that we have the truth of, say, Catholic Christianity, then we should strive to attain more of it, so as to be filled with the truth revealed by God. We can very easily be partially blind, and in the basic issues, even wholly so. This blindness may to some extent be culpable. After all, the blindness of the scribes and the Pharisees was culpable. So we should arouse ourselves and seek to attain and live in the truth, which is the truth revealed by God and embodied in the person of Christ. Let us place truth and error in the forefront and uproot the assumption that it is second in importance to what is merely useful. We must pray to God our Father for the grace to see and embrace the light of Christ and its implications for life. Truth and error is the all-important issue in the matter of religion. As our Lord said, the truth will make you free. Let us be alert to all traces, seeds and vehicles of the truth, wherever they may be, in the religions and philosophies of the world. Let us strive to be a true witness to Christ. Christ, who is the light of the world. He is the way, the truth, and the life for mankind.